The Festival Miracle banner is our winter/Christmas themed banner for 2020, and it's brought along some fun characters from 3 Houses and the Telius games. We'll be talking about the stats and skills for winter versions of Hilda, Bernadetta, Sephiran making his Fade debut, and then we have Harmonized Altina and Sanaki. Hilda will be the 4-star focus unit, and for this seasonal banner you can actually spark 3 different times. Normally you can't even spark at all on seasonal banners, but if you summon 120 times total, you can grab 3 of these focus units. You can only get 1 copy from sparking, you can't pick the same character 3 times. As a unit, Winter Hilda is a fantastic early Christmas present by being our 4-star focus unit. She'll be a Lance Arm unit with 44 HP, 39 attack, 38 speed, 37 defense, and 26 resistance, 184 BST with attack and res super boons. Now, that is one hell of a 4-star focus merge project if you want to go all out. While 38 speed may not seem that insane, Hilda ties Valentine's Ike for 2nd fastest melee army unit, so that will open up some very strong and annoying builds since she can get decently fast while still being very tanky. Hilda will be the fastest Lance Arm unit by a mile, and being the 4-star focus is really good if you want to merge her. For old skills, Hilda has Shove as her assist skill and an attack and defense form 3. Nice to see more farm skills become more available since they do provide alternatives to bonds. For an inheritable weapon, Hilda has the Candy Cane Plus. This 14 might lance grants plus 5 attack and defense, and guard as long as you are within 2 spaces of an ally. It is quite similar to the spring weapons from this year, except now we have guard instead of stat debuff neutralization. Should go without saying, but Candy Cane Plus will be better than the guard lance if you stick near the team. An extra plus 5 attack and defense is quite nice, and you're going to want to plan to be a bit more defensive to make the most of this weapon. Guard plus distant counter is fantastic for tanking, and we have various bonds, forms, and Unity A skills to complement that grouped up playstyle. As an army unit, staying near allies isn't too difficult, but if you use Armor March, you do need to be a bit careful. Winter Hilda will also bring us a new inheritable skill, Even Follow-Up 3. If it is an even number turn, unit makes a guaranteed follow-up attack and denies a foe's follow-up attack. Last year we got Odd Follow-Up on Halloween Hector, and we never saw that skill again. Even and Odd Follow-Up are basically fighter skills in disguise because they are only inheritable by armored units. They essentially have an Omnibreaker effect, but only on that said even or odd number turn. They can be powerful for offensive and defensive moves, but you need to time things correctly, and the lower mobility of arm units can make this tougher. Feel free to give Even Follow-Up a try, but the potency of specials is why a lot of arm units offer Special Fighter, and even Boulder Vengeful Fighter also provides special cooldown reduction. In terms of just being the 4-star focus unit, Winter Hilda is fantastic. Fast arm units are not super common, and if you merge her up, then that's just more speed to play with. For Hilda's base kit, she really wants to stick with the team to benefit from both Candy Cane and attack and defense form. Lots of bonus attack and defense, and guard is great, and it gets even better if Even Follow-Up is active. You can outfit her with pretty much any Sacred Seal or C skill, but with her base kit you may want extra speed or resistance. Now, most people are probably going to ditch Even Follow-Up for Special Fighter because Hilda has the same type of stat line that works great for it. If she can get her own doubles via speed, then she outputs more specials like Aether, but even just avoiding natural doubles from middle tier speed enemies is very valuable. Sadly, Special Fighter doesn't synergize with Candy Cane because of overlapping guard effects, so you can give Hilda another similar lance. Spring Nation's Guilt Fork replaces the guard effect with attack and defense debuff neutralization, but you could also use Dancer out against Courtly Candle. This weapon grants plus 5 attack and defense when above 50% HP, and if the user is doubled, they reduce the first hit by 50%. That may seem not great on a fast unit, but we have a ton of skills and weapons that grant free follow-up attacks, and if we run Special Fighter, we're not going to be able to stop those. It could also be great on non-distant counter builds if you add a Deflect Magic Seal. If you just want to spam Aether procs, then honestly the good old Slaying Lance is also fine. For some other options, I do think Hilda could be a nice offensive army unit. She can use Bold Fighter and get past fall preventing skills thanks to her speed stat, and could be open to go for strategies. For the most part, Winter Hilda should be pretty scary when fully merged and built up. I would expect a lot of DC plus specials fighter sets, so if you have trouble with those, then you may want to get a hammer user. Next up we have Winter Bernadetta. Winter Bernie is going to be a Green Tome Cavalier with 39 HP, 36 attack, 40 speed, 19 defense, and 23 resistance. She does have a speed super boon and will be a bit similar to Selena as a high damage glass cannon type unit. Winter Bernie is pretty much the only other Mage Cavalier to challenge both Selenas in terms of attack and speed stats, and she most definitely tops the Green Mage Cav class. Definitely a ton of firepower on hand, and possibly another Cavalier to add to your Aether Raids Cav lines. Now for old skills, have you noticed the pattern for new 5-star Cavaliers? Bernie has Moonblaster special, and she's outfitted with the Holy Trinity of attack and speed solo 4, low speed and res 3, and rouse attack and speed 3. Basically a full damage build, and rouse attack and speed is still pretty hard to come by. Bernie does get her own unique weapon, Wrist is a 14 might tome that grants another +3 speed, bringing Bernie up to 43 speed naturally. At the start of the turn, if Bernie is at full health and is within 2 spaces of an ally, she deals 1 damage to herself and any ally within 2 spaces. Additionally, if Bernie is under 100% HP, she gets +6 attack and speed during combat, and reduces damage from the foe's first attack by 30%. Alrighty, this is one strange ability. Bernie hurts herself and nearby allies with 1 HP. This will perma-activate her weapon, but the greater implication is that she can also help other allies who need to be under full health to activate their own weapons. For example, the newly refined Sealed Falchion and regular Archer Bernie would benefit from taking 1 damage. Obviously, taking 1 damage can also counter enemy skills that require full health targets. A popular example would be Tabarn, who gets a follow-up attack against full health targets. If Bernie inflicts just 1 damage on her teammates, Tabarn loses that effect entirely, and there are actually a good amount of weapons that also have similar conditions. I almost feel like this ability predates a potential Desperation 4 skill that works with just be under full health, so if that ever happens, I wouldn't be too surprised. Not to be ignored, but Bernie does get 30% damage reduction on 1 hit as well, so if that can prevent a 1-shot, then job done. Now that I think about it, Bernie has a very similar kit to Riggin. Her weapon will give +6 attack and speed and 30% damage reduction on top of the attack and speed solo and low speed and res full damage combo. Winter Bernie will be like Selena if she gets to you and you can't counterattack, then she just outputs a ton of damage and has a good chance to double as well. She doesn't have no follow-up to mess around with, but that 30% damage reduction on the first attack does let Bernie not need to run something like Fury if you want to drop into desperation range. Important to understand, her wrist works on both phases, so Bernie can enemy phase tank 1 hit while still getting her extra attack and speed, and that's why she comes with a solo and rouse combo. This makes her flexible in how you get into desperation range, and it also means a solo Sacred Seal is fine, and attack and defense solo would be appreciated to tank a bit more damage. Bernie could also maybe run Vantage because again all her skills are active on both phases if she is alone. If you wanted to run a tanky build using her wrist's damage reduction, I won't stop you, but if the enemy has a guaranteed follow-up, then Bernie's pretty much finished. Overall, Winter Bernadetta is another high damage cavalier that is pretty much fully kitted out. Her damage reduction ability could be vital in surviving a counterattack, so I do imagine she'd be great on a cav line defense team. In a super metagame way of thinking, the 1 damage recoil effect on teammates and herself can actually make a difference. Again, you can take advantage of this effect and you can also mess up enemy abilities as well. So if you run those type of 100% HP conditions, you do need to be paying attention. I don't know if her recoil damage procs after healing towers or renewal, so that's another factor since when it activates could change strategies. If it procs after a healing tower, then you're good, otherwise you want to avoid using those. Winter Bernie will be great out of the gate, and her tome animation also pretty hilarious. Not a bad seasonal cavalier at all. Our third unit is Winter Sephiran, who is a new character. Basically, just need to know that he's the Prime Minister of Beiyang, which means he works under Sanaki, and if you want to know more, then let's just say his place on this banner is well deserved. Now as a unit, Sephiran is going to be our second armored healer, the only one besides Winter Erica. He has 43 HP, 42 attack, 21 speed, 29 defense, and 40 resistance. He comes with a res super boon, which is great, but let's talk about that 42 base attack. Highest attack on the banner. Highest attack for all healers, sorry Flame, ties Legendary Chrome for highest attack on a ranged unit. That is just insane, and not only is Sephiran going to be healing for a lot, but he'll be doing a ton of damage with Wrathful Staff. Armored healers are some fun stuff. For all skills, Sephiran has the Restore Plus staff, Earth Water Bomb Plus, and then Attack and Res Push 4, pretty standard stuff. For his staff, Sephiran has the Tannin Baton Plus. This is a 12 might staff that grants +2 defense and res to allies within 2 spaces. Then I feel like the English translation may be a bit unclear because it also gives those allies the guard status against enemies that they fight. From testing endgame, I'm pretty sure Tannin Baton does not give guard to the user, it is just a drive guard ability, which is really good. Guard is so dang valuable for any defensive unit, and sometimes it's a bit hard to fit in a build unless you run a guard weapon or the tier 3 dual stand skills. Tannin Baton Plus can provide guard from multiple allies, and basically if you plan to stay together, then this is a top tier support option. If you see the staff on a defense team, maybe a ward stacking armor team, then you really need to be careful about engaging them if you're relying on specials. Sephiran is also bringing even more stuff for healers because he introduces a new healer only skill, Odd Recovery 3. At the start of odd number turns, neutralize any penalty on allies within 2 spaces and restore 20 HP to those allies. There's a pretty neat skill. Every odd turn you have a 2 space penalty cleanse, and a 20 HP heal is substantial. This could be a decent option for clearing isolation on your dancers, but the every other turn condition is certainly a downside. Also, debuffs will reapply themselves when the enemy phase starts, so this is mainly about clearing penalties so you can make a player phase move. Now for multi-map content, this is an amazing skill since it will basically give you a 20 HP heal on every new map. It's also nice for when you need healing but you want your healer to make an attack or do something else. If you want to use this skill for a defense team, you kind of have to think about how fast you let the enemy set up. This could be nice for stalling strategies because if you can make the enemy waste one extra turn waiting for their debuffs to apply, then perhaps that's enough to get you the win via turn limit. If you want to make people think more, you can add on someone like Iago to your team since he has different effects and conditions for odd and even numbered turns. Now for builds, armor healers have a lot of fun options, and Winter Sephiran is basically Winter Erica but with more attack and resistance. Anything she can run will work for Sephiran. As a 5-star, Sephiran does have a pretty decked out kit and you can pretty much keep everything. Armored boots can be used if you just want to use them for general content, and Wings of Mercy is always useful. Tandem Baton is a great staff if you want to pass guard to a teammate and pairs nicely with Ward Armor for +6 defense and res to Armor Emblem teams, and they all get guard too. If you want a fun kit, then Sephiran can run Bold or Vengeful Fire to get a follow-up attack, and he's so tanky that you don't need Dazzling Staff. Just go Wrathful Staff for the weapon refine. You could use the Palm Staff Plus from Summer Reese to inflict -5 attack, and you can go with other fun but expensive skills like Close Foil or Fortress Defense and Res 3. We did get Fortress Defense and Res 2 as a Sacred Seal, so combine both of them and that's +10 Defense and Res, and Sephiran can use Wary Fighter on top of that. Armored healers can get away with some really dumb stuff. It's just their mobility that suffers if you aren't planning to stay grouped up. Overall, Sephiran would be a really nice unit to have if you like armor teams, and with premium skills you can get some really crazy builds. Last on the banner is Harmonized Winter, Altina, and Sanaki. Yes, they are a harmonized hero, not a dual hero, because Path of Radiance and Radiant Dawn are separate games. Altina was the first Empress of Benyang, which means Sanaki is like her great etc. granddaughter. Now, as a unit, Winter Altina will basically just be the infantry version of her mythic self. She has 42 HP, 40 attack, 18 speed, 37 defense, and 39 resistance. Attack super boon because of course, and she sacrifices speed because as you can see, she still has ragnell-alondite. Being infantry opens up a lot more skill options than being a flyer, and Winter Altina does take advantage of that. For old skills, she has No See Disrupt to counter Fire Sweep or Dazzling Staff attackers, and this is something normal Altina can't run. She then has Attack and Res Oath for the same self-buffing ability. If you aren't familiar with Mythic Altina, she has 2 returning unique skills. Ragnell-alondite only have 10 might, but lets Altina attack twice at all times, and she gets distant counter. Really powerful combo. Altina then has Twin Blades, which is a 2 cooldown special that boosts damage by 40% of her res stat. It also disables non-special skills that reduce damage by X%. Twin Blades is literally half of Glacie's damage with half the cooldown and bypasses all the annoying % base damage reduction skills like Close Call. Pretty relevant effect to have nowadays. You could say this was a sign when Altina was released last year. Now for Altina and Sanaki's Harmonized skill, they will also grant Resonance Blades to themselves and allies from the same titles as them, basically all Path of Radiance and Radiant Dawn characters. Resonance Blades is a status that grants +4 attack and speed during combat, very simple. However, for Altina herself, she gets Vantage, and this is a no HP condition Vantage. If you attack her, she gets to attack first. You may have noticed a lack of Vantage in her base kit, but here it is, and now Altina can combo it with No See Disrupt. It will only last for 1 turn, so use it well, but if you need more Vantage cheese, you can just always use the B skill itself, no problems. For new inheritable skills, Altina and Sanaki has Attack and Res Unity. If unit is within 2 spaces of an ally, grants +5 attack and res and bonus to attack and res, equal to the current penalty on each of those stats times 2. This is just the attack and res version of the attack and defense unity skill from Brave Dimitri. These skills are great because you can be 1 or 2 spaces away and they basically cancel out debuffs by granting double the amount in combat buffs. That means if you had -6 attack as a debuff, the unity skill gives you +12 attack for a +6 total increase. The skill does not neutralize penalties, and you don't want to use it with weapons or skills that do, because then the effect won't work. Users are subject to enemy skills that proc via stat penalties like Broadleaf Fan, but if the enemy doesn't have any of them, then you get a huge stat advantage just by being debuffed. If you want this unity skill and one of Altina's other skills for inheriting, you can use New Year's Takumi from the Ephraim 12 common manuals, since he does come with attack and res bond 3. For the most part, this Altina is just as ready to go as Mythic Altina. Ragnell-alondite plus a ton of base attack means she can be a threat on both phases, and you can use Vantage to clean up enemy teams with 2 hits. Winter Altina can either use her Harmonized skill to get Vantage for 1 turn, or you slot the usual Vantage B skill in for longer fights. As an infantry unit, Altina now gets to use No See Disrupt, Times Pulse, Lulls, Rouse Buffs, and even Steady Breath if you want. She generally wants a ton of attack, and while some other units like Laszlo or Keaton can run the DC plus Vantage plus double attack builds, Winter Altina has a free A slot, which is really good for her. Attack and Res Unity is a good skill, but you can also run a solo skill or a stance for more non-Vantage tanking. Low attack and defense is actually pretty solid, but that B slot choice is up to you. Like in the raids, having that no-see disrupt plus Vantage combo via the Harmonized skill is really good. However, in PvE content, you may just want to sub in regular Vantage 3 and run a Brazen Attack Sacred Seal. Now, Heavy Blade can work on Altina since if her first hit lands, she charges up Twin Blades on her second hit. However, I do think Time's Pulse is a neat option for her now. That would put Twin Blades on a 1 cooldown every player phase, so Altina can initiate and proc Twin Blades on her second hit. It even works with Vantage since on the first enemy phase fight, the same thing will happen. Vantage procs, first hit charges up Twin Blades, second hit procs it, and this is without Heavy Blade. Now you can combine Time's Pulse with Heavy Blade to run a Go First set. That is certainly an option, especially since you have the Harmonized skill for a 1-turn perma Vantage if Altina gets into trouble. Overall, Winter Altina is going to be another fun unit and probably a better Aether Raids tanking option since she can get those mythic boosts and you run the Null-See Disrupt with Vantage for 1-turn setup. Turns out dual wielding 2 giant great swords just makes you a badass even during the holiday season. That's going to be it for this banner breakdown. Remember, you can spark on the seasonal banner if you really want one of these units. Coming up tomorrow, we have a really fun Tempest Trials with some really good Sacred Seals, and we're getting free Winter Felix. Hell yeah. Lots to talk about for that event, so I'll see you guys very soon.